In today's show, we recap Tuesday's 8 games in the NBA, big performances, injury news, everything that we need to know. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beeble, on TikTok at redrock_Beeble, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So we're here to look at the action from Tuesday. There are 8 games on, talk about what we need to talk about. So, warning.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, for tomorrow, the Thunder. The Bronco, Jalen Williams, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander are going to be out tomorrow. We know that in advance. So we will talk about the Thunder later on, but Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, if he's available, they become really strong streams for tomorrow. But just advance warning, Shai is out tomorrow, and Jalen Williams is out tomorrow as well. A report on Karl-Anthony Towns, which doesn't tell us anything, but I guess sort of does tell us something. They said he's in his final stages of returning, but still no timeline. So he's not obviously ready to come back. He won't come back this week. He probably won't come back the week after. I'd say we're at least 2 weeks away here from him returning, which is frustrating to know, like, what do we do with Karl-Anthony Towns in fantasy leagues? But this is like he's a zero at the moment. Obviously, IR slots we hold if we can. But when he comes back, he's going to be limited. Are we going to get 30 minutes of Towns before April? I highly, highly doubt that. And there's still some thoughts that maybe he doesn't come back in the regular season at all. It's annoying to get an update that's not an update, but it was still something of an update. It's just frustrating to get that. Oh, he's in the final stages, but we don't know when he's going to be back. And he should have dropped him weeks ago, months ago even. But if you still got him now, this puts a little bit of doubt there. And still, we don't know when he's coming back, when Zion's coming back. Probably the 2 biggest ones, LeBron. But I think all of them are going to be pretty useless for fantasy playoffs. And then some news, we thought, could be a good stream option for MC Hamidou Diallo. 3 games in 4 nights. Bogdanovic out.
Stop. Hammer time.
Hayes out. Everyone out. And then he goes and suffers an ankle sprain, and he's out for the season. Grade 2 ankle sprain for Hamidou Diallo. If you're Anthony Simons, you can come back in 2 weeks and, of course, re-injure it. But that's a 6 to 8 week injury, so Diallo's season is over. We'll talk about what the Pistons look like today. Not that it matters, because their rotation's probably going to look a whole lot different next game. But we'll talk about what happened with them today without Diallo when we get to their game recap. But that's where we sit with some news. Let's look at some waiver wire moves. The most added player was Jalen Suggs with Gary Harris out. What we heard from Jamal Mosley regarding Gary Harris and Wendell Carter, hey, is this anything long-term? And he said no to both of those. So there's no reason that Suggs is going to benefit necessarily from Harris long-term. Same with Mo Wagner or Gogo Badadze, who benefited from Wendell being out. But Suggs was a major add, and he wasn't the one to add. It was Cole Anthony who would have been the one to add there in the absence of old mate, what's his name? Gary Harris. That would have been the one to add, but hey, we can't always get them right, can we? That's how that stuff works out. It made sense given the last game that we saw from Suggsy, but it just didn't work out today. The other ads here on this list, Timmy Hardaway up 14%. Yeah, he was playing. He got the added bonus of starting the second half with Reggie Bullock getting hurt. Made sense, but he's always going to be hit or miss. Cameron Reddish up 14%. Well, we know that Simons is out again tomorrow. So Reddish... Oh, the other thing I should have probably covered is the news, but Yusuf Nurkic is questionable to return tomorrow. Okay. We talked about it in the What to Watch For show earlier today, but Nurkic is questionable to return. Simons is out, so Reddish is going to get a good opportunity. Is he going to handle that backup point guard role as well? Exactly the same Simons, or start at shooting guard, get backup point guard? We'll see. He's putting up some good numbers at the moment. I like that as an ad. I like Chris Dunn as an ad up 13%, with Colin Sexton out at least another week. Austin and Jordan Clarkson out today. Austin Reeves up 12%. Makes sense with no D'Angelo Russell still again today. Tyus Jones up 8%. That he should be at 100. He needs to be rostered everywhere. Dennis Schroeder up 8. We'll see what happens with Schroeder once D'Angelo returns, which I think is Friday, the next Lakers game, but for now, Schroeder has that value. And then Grayson Allen. I guess people were streaming Grayson Allen in because there was no Giannis or no Drew, and he was basically the worst player that was a regular rotation player for the Bucks today in their game. Just couldn't get anything going. He is usually an okay stream guy when you're looking for some threes, but not a particularly good game from Grayson Allen today. The most dropped players, number one was Diallo. Makes quite a bit of sense to drop him there. Josh Okogie, down 9%. It's always going to be hard for him to maintain value with Kevin Durant and Booker and Paul and Ayton. He's probably more of a 14-team league guy. Trey Jones and Jeremy Sohan down 8% each. The Spurs still not playing for a couple of days. Makes sense to drop them. Add them as the Laker. As the week goes on, you can add them when the Spurs play Friday. Cam Thomas down 7%. I'll admit I was wrong on Cam Thomas. I thought that he'd play more than 7 minutes in these games. I thought they'd give him a couple more minutes to get his scoring going. I was wrong. Sorry. He played 0 minutes, DMP CD. And you want to know why? He's bad at defense. He's bad at offense. He's good at one-on-one ball. That's really good. But I don't think Jacques Vaughn is asking him to do other things. He is not doing them. That is why he got DMP'd. Will he be a continual DMP rest of season? I don't know that that's necessarily the case. We hope that he's able to do some different stuff or to change his game or get back in the coach's graces. But there is a reason that he's able to do this for like 2 or 3 games in a row and then falls out of favor. It's happened a few times throughout his career because of his inability to play team NBA basketball. And that's always been one of my criticisms of Cam Thomas. You can score. Cool. What else? What else are you going to do? So, obviously.
Get that garbage out of here!
Josh Richardson dropped in 5% of leagues. He's going to return tomorrow. I don't know whether he's going to start or not, or if it's going to be Trey Murphy. He's fine to have, but I might be looking at some fewer minutes there. Kevin Love down 5, not a 12-team ad or not a 12-team hold. And Benedict Mathurin, not a 12-team league guy either. He's proven time and time again that he's not a good category league player, and you can hit a good night from him or you can hit a bad one, and it's just hard to know when that's going to be. Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. New partner and sponsor of today's show is Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. It's a mobile game, where you can get to live out your fantasies of being an NBA GM. We all here play fantasy basketball. We love wheeling and dealing and drafting players and trading players. It's what we do. And now you can do it on this mobile game. You hire the right coaches and assistants, trade and train players, make draft picks, navigate your franchise through free agency and the draft and all the ups and downs of a season. All of this in a challenging and realistic game world. As Obi leaves, he's going to get his phone to get Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. It's completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. We've got a league with all the Locked On hosts. We're in there trying to build our team up so who can have the best results over the time. I think our challenge ends at the end of March. That'd be something you could do with your mates as well. Start a little league and see who can get their team going the furthest. Locked On Fantasy Basketball listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On in the game store. So make sure to check it out. To download the game, just visit probasketballgm.com. Scan the code that's on the screen here on YouTube, the QR code, or look it up on the app stores. That is probasketballgm.com. Ultimate Basketball GM. Start your dynasty today. Let's go into the games. First one, the Milwaukee Bucks and the Orlando Magic. All right. The Bucks win, as they do. 134-123, the final score, Milwaukee. There was no Drew, no Giannis in this one. So we got Chris Middleton back in the starting lineup, and he played 31 minutes. That is some of the best news you will hear. I would be highly, highly doubtful if they say, all right, Giannis and Drew are coming back, move back to the bench, Chris. I think this is it. I think he starts, and the 31 minutes is massively encouraging. It doesn't hurt that he had 24, 4, and 11 as well, and got to the line 14 times. Is he back, ready to go? It looks like it. Is he still going to sit back-to-backs? I believe so, but this is huge. I was worried that he wouldn't hit 30 minutes in the near term, but he hit it today, and he started. All systems go. Well, most systems go. Brook Lopez, 26 and 6 with 3 blocks, and it was a good game from Punch Bob. 31 minutes for Bobby Portis, 16 and 11. But that's a game without Giannis. I do not think that this game should signify to you that Bobby Portis needs to be rostered. If Giannis is out, sure. If Giannis is in, I don't think so. Javon Carter, also really good. He shot 69%.
Giggity.
24, 2, and 5 with 4 threes in 35 minutes, replacing Drew. He's had some wild moments this season. Huge games, invisible games, but when given the opportunity, He's succeeded a lot of the time. He's at least a stream guy for us. While Jingle and Joe had 12, 3, and 6 in his 27 minutes. And Paddy Connaughton, with Middleton going back to the starting lineup, Connaughton just played 6 and 5 in 21 minutes. He hasn't obviously been all that successful this season. For the Magic, there was no Wendell or Gary Harris, as I mentioned. Mo Wagner started and played 21 minutes. Yeah. Big game from all. It is a big game, but it's only low minutes. 18 and 8, 2 threes and 2 steals. Wasn't really a foul trouble thing. They just gave some minutes to our favourite Georgian, Goga Bitadze.
Problem with my Gogo-mobile. Gogo-mobile? No, not the da. Not the da.
12 and 8. I bet you forgot Goga played for this team. I did, honestly. But if Wendell misses time down the stretch, Bitadze could be an interesting day-to-day stream guy. Cole Anthony, 33 minutes, 23, 5 and 3 with 2 steals. I brought him up on the streaming show, I think it was today, saying, hey, there might be a little bit of a chance here for Cole to go on a run. Worked out today. We'll see how it goes from here on out. Franz Wagner had 21, 3 and 6, and Paulo just shit the bed again. And it doesn't look like it when you see 20 and 4 with 3 assists. It's just RJ Barrett-esque. No steals, no blocks, 39 from the field, and 4 of 8 from the line. This is why he kills you in category leagues. In points leagues, awesome. He is killing teams in categories, and he is getting... Now, I'm not going to preclude improvements from him next season, but he's getting to the stage where you go, you know what? I don't even think he's worth it in a category league. It's got to be a very tailored situation where you're punting both categories, or both percentage categories, and you've got enough defensive stats coming from other areas because he routinely hurts you on the volume in both areas. It was a slight worry heading into the season from him out of college, but Paulo's been way worse over the last 2-3 months, and he is now outside the top 135 for the season on a per-game basis. Points leagues, 59th. Great. We love that. Big difference. It's because of the shithouse percentages. Suggs started for Gaz Harris, had 3 points. Took 4 shots. Dreadful. He did have 2 assists, which is still bad, with 1 steal. He is only a stream guy, definitely not a must roster. And even if he started permanently, I don't think he'd be a must roster 12-team league guy. He's just too many deficiencies. He needs a lot to happen. And the way he was able to get that value early is when Cole was out and Fultz was out and I think Paulo was out, and he was getting a lot of usage with a lot of defensive stats. And that's not really going to be the case here, I don't think. Second game, Wizards 119 over the Pistons 117. Dan Gafford with the game winner. He only played 25 minutes, Dan, 8 and 7 with a steal and a block and 80% shooting. That's still actually enough for him to be a 12-team league guy. Anything less than 24 makes it tough. They've got a good upcoming schedule, so just hold for now. Diallo, he had the buy low bump. 38 minutes, 32, 7 and 7, a triple one, 67% shooting. We love a buy low bump. We hate the other one. I don't even know what I call it. A sell high sink. I don't know. Some shit. It happened to someone. We'll talk about it later on. But Beal got the nice bump. Kuzma had 23, 3 and 2 with 2 steals and finally shot above 40%, while Porzingis had 24 and 7. So just big games from those guys. Delon Wright started with Monte Morris out and scored 3 points. And you might think that's bad, which it is. But he had 6 assists, 5 steals, and a block. And you love that. And he's a must-roster player. I don't know what happens when Monte Morris returns. I think Monte will probably start, but Delon will still get 25 plus, which makes him good enough to use. And I tell you what, I shit on Corey Kispert as a draft pick a lot because it was a bad draft pick. I shit on him as a viable NBA player because I think he's no more than a bench gunner. But he is playing better. 32 minutes, 16 points with 4 threes. Now his shooting has been elite this season. He offers absolutely nothing else. Think like Joe Harris. But they're giving a lot of minutes and he's hitting a lot of threes. So when you're looking for threes, Kispert is in that mix. Now, when Morris returns, I don't know where they're playing, but he's shooting well, and we can use that. Denny Avdia is 7 and 5 in 21 minutes. Lucky they traded Rui so they could give more minutes to Avdia. He's not a 12-team league guy, unfortunately, sorry to say. He is a schedule guy, but that's about it. For the Pistons, they were without Bogdanovic, Hayes, Duran, Stewart, Diallo, Burks. So how the hell do I make any sense of this? Diallo is going to be out for the rest of the season, yes. But we got Marvin Bagley III playing 29 minutes, having 15, 5 and 4. Pretty good game. How does he get 30 minutes when Duran and Stewart play? If Duran and Stewart play, when Duran and Stewart play. He can't. Blunty, James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley IV. 21 and 5, a steal and 2 blocks. Really good numbers. How does he play 34 minutes when those other guys are healthy? He can't. He won't. But I don't know when that's going to be. So we hold these guys and we stream for now. And what is the most encouraging here is Jaden Ivey. 26, 5 and 12. They finally bumped him an extra minute to 32 minutes. But big volume, not killer efficiency. We didn't kill you in efficiency. And big double-digit assists for the second straight game. We love to see that. He's shown flashes of that when Hayes was being either out of the starting lineup or out in general. We've seen that increase in assists, but good to see him doing it. Now, I don't know what that translates to next season because he's not going to handle the ball that much, but encouraging nonetheless. With no Hayes, another 31 minutes for Corey Joseph, 11, 3, and 6. If Killian's out, he's actually a viable stream. And we had big fella Eugene Omoruyi, who had a few good games for the Thunder. Now he is in Detroit, 15 and 6. He's basically Hamidou Diallo, a 6'8", 6'9", forward mascot who really can only play center. And he did it. I think we just need to watch that for deeper leagues. RJ Hampton, no surprise that he couldn't repeat yesterday's game. Only 18 minutes with Hayes out, 11 points, 2 threes, no steals after getting 5 yesterday. It's why I wasn't that interested in streaming him in because, again, when they're only playing him limited minutes with a bunch of guys out, it doesn't really look good moving forward. I don't know what to make of Bogdanovic. How much is he going to play? I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't play again this season. They did the same shit with Jeremy Grant last season, and they didn't really tell us for about 2 weeks after it started happening. I'm not saying to drop Bogdanovic, but if you're in the fantasy playoffs, you've got to start to make that decision. Because it's getting to the stage where you go, is he actually going to play? Duran, no idea. Probably worth a drop as well. Stewart, definitely a drop. Hayes, probably a drop as well. You can't have these situations where we're looking at these guys and saying, well, hold, we'll see what happens. Bogdanovic is clearly the best there, but I have the least faith in him playing, and I just don't know when that's going to happen. Livers had 9 points in his 37 minutes as well. Today's episode is also brought to you, if I can get the screen up, it is also brought to you by FanDuel. With the NBA season midway point well and truly gone, and we're gearing up for the playoffs, it's the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. And you can bet on everything from the money line to points scored, game totals, and even three-pointers drained. If we have a look at some games lined up for tomorrow, the Mavs on a back-to-back take on the Pelicans, and they're 2-point favorites on the road. We know the Pelicans are struggling, but Dallas, 2-point favorites on the road? That'll be one to watch. And the Cavs are 1-point favorites on the road against the Heat as well. FanDuel also lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. The next one. It is the Philadelphia 76ers. They comfortably handled the Minnesota Timberwolves. The score was 117-94. There was no Jim Harden, but Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker returned. Tucker returned to score 0 points in 22 minutes, so that was sick. That moved Jalen McDaniels to the bench, and he played 17 minutes. So for those of you that added Jalen McDaniels after that Tobias Harris absence,
Get that garbage out of here!
Harris was really low usage, 10 points, and that's what's going to happen with Maxey starting, but 14 rebounds, 4 steals, and a block. Helps him a lot. Tyrese Maxey, I saw a tweet. I've got to find the tweet. Why? I should have saved it. Where is it? I'm gonna pause recording this so I can go find the tweet and bring up something. All right, I found the tweet that I was going to reference, or that I am going to reference right now, and it's from Justin Grasso saying Tyrese Maxey, since getting back into the Sixers starting lineup, 60% shooting, 56% three-point percentage, 3.2 assists and 26.6 points per game. And people will look at that and go, wow, look at that. We knew he was meant to start. We knew it had to happen. Thanks, Doc. You fired up. I look at that and go, oh, only 3 assists and he's doing it on 56% three-point shooting. It's going to crash. It's going to crash unbelievably hard. It is not going to stick. He is not shooting these numbers because he is starting. He has done the thing where he elevates into a position of more importance. He shoots the absolute lights out and people conflate the two and go, oh, see? I'm not saying that's what Justin's doing. This is what beat reporters do and fans of teams do all the time. But we look at it from a fantasy lens going, ooh. So he's doing all of this on shit that has got no chance of sticking and he's not supporting it with peripheral stats. That's going to get ugly. We don't know when, but it is going to get ugly. It is going to fall away and he has nothing left to back him up. It's a hot streak now. Lovely hot streak. But it's not going to stick. And it's, again, I only say this not to say anything against Justin for tweeting this or anyone for doing that. It's more that when we assess things from a fantasy perspective, to understand the way that team-based reports or even mass media, big market media, whatever it is, national media puts the tweets out, they always put that stuff out acting like, look, see, amazing. And we should look at it and go, ooh, yeah, but nah. Like, it's just not going to be able to stick. That's how we have to look at it, and that is where you can get buy low, sell highs in. I know trade deadlines are done in most leagues, but that's what you got to pay attention to. Anyway, Maxey had 27, 4, and 5 with 4 threes on 56% shooting. It's a lovely game. It's a fantastic game. But Melton had 11 and 7 in 32 minutes. We hold for the schedule. We hold until Harden's back, but he's going to become a fringy player, while Embiid had 39, 7, and 4, 1 steal, 3 blocks in only 28 minutes because it was a blowout for the Wolves. Goose played 34 minutes. Anthony Edwards, 32 and 7 with 5 threes. Not a lot else going on there, and they were blown out. So everyone else played limited minutes. 25 for Gobert, 26 for McDaniels, 28 for Anderson, and 24 for Conley. So I don't really know what to read into that. It was a good game from Taurean Prince, who had 13, 3, and 2, 2 steals and a block, but still blowout related. Like, all these extra minutes, the bad... There's nothing you can really take out of this game, I don't think. Stinker from Nickeil Alexander-Walker, showing that he is not a 12-team league guy despite a solid run of performances. Just a deep league player. But we can't look at this and go, oh, yeah, Rudy played 25 and Jaden played 26. What does it mean moving forward? Because the answer is nothing. It just doesn't mean a single thing. It's shit that it happened, but it doesn't actually mean anything in the grand scheme of what happens rest of season. The Hornets, they bring the Knicks to their knees. 112-105. Gordie Hayward, 23, 9, and 8 on 36 minutes. Great. Oubre, 36 minutes. 27, 5, and 2 with 3 threes. Just amazing games. And Oubre was efficient. Can you believe it? And we talked about Terry Rozier, how he'd struggled to get anything going without LaMelo Ball. Well, here we go. The buy low bump. 25, 5, and 7. 46% shooting on 22 attempts. We love that game from all three of those guys. It wasn't a really good game from Mark Williams.
Oh, hi, Mark.
But he played 28 minutes despite struggling. 7 and 3 with a steal and a block. That's definitely not anything good. But he still played those minutes over Nick Richards, who had 7 and 5 in his 19 minutes. PJ had 13 and 7. He had 2 blocks. He had 2 threes. He's still solid. He's not a top 100 player this season, 112th, and he's been very, very up and down. But that's a pretty strong game. And we're going to talk a little bit about Dennis Smith, who played only 24 minutes and had 3 points on 17%. And we know you don't have Smith on your team for shooting or for field or for scoring. But when he is that bad, it is worrying. Now, he didn't have any defensive stats, which hurts. 5 rebounds and 6 assists is nice. He still can be a 12-team league guy, but instead of playing 28 a night, he's at 26 or 24, and that limits him a little bit. You've got to be willing to take on a field goal percentage hit to have him and understand you're not getting scoring. The other stuff can be really useful, but the fact that he's only playing like mid-20s instead of low 30s does hurt overall. They're giving 19 minutes here to Bryce McGowan's, and that is cutting into what Dennis Smith is doing. No Jalen Brunson again, so Emmanuel quickly got the start and played 35 minutes, but the opposite of the buy low bump, we talked about how, hey, there's no way. It can't stick. It's not going to stick. 14 points on 31% shooting. No defensive stats. He had 5 assists, but this stuff wasn't going to be able to maintain. The 35 minutes is still nice, but what his role is when Brunson plays is something to watch. More minutes for Grimes with 12, 4, and 2 in 29 minutes. That's a Brunson factor, as it is for Rowan Barrett, who had a really good 27, 6, and 4. Unfortunately, Paulo Banchero-esque. He had no defensive stats, 42% from the field, and 6 of 8 from the line. And we know the issue with him is that he's not going to play 35 minutes a night when they're healthy, most likely, and there's going to be the deficiencies always there. Joshy Hart had 10 and 8 in 33 minutes. Continues to play well for the Knicks, but for fantasy, he's not really blowing us away, is he? Like in a points league, at a category league, like he's just sort of there. I'm not telling it to drop him, but he's not really pushing up anywhere. And we also talked about 2 Knicks being on the sell highs, and they both stunk. Julius Randle, 16 and 8. Is that stinking? Yes, it is, because he shot 29% from the field and 67% from the line. He went 2 of 9 from 3, and he was shooting his threes at an insane rate. This is the stuff that is always going to happen. Always going to happen. Bad games from those two. Absolutely right on cue. I could not have timed that any better. Let's go to the next one. The Brooklyn Nets blow out the Rockets 118-96. The final score to Brooklyn. Mikal Bridges again with 30 points. No rebounds is weird, but 5 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, 20 attempts, 45% shooting. Continues to be unbelievably good. I think if we see a whole season of this from Bridges, he will suffer some efficiency issues, but he's been awesome. Claxton, 29 minutes, 18, 13, 4 blocks. This is against the Rockets, but he was great. And Dinwiddie had 23 points. Also, 33 minutes for Royce O'Neal. Very intriguing. 11 and 11 with 2 threes. He took the Cam Thomas minutes. As I said earlier, Thomas played 0 minutes here, while Cam Johnson only played 24 minutes. He just couldn't get it to fall. 8 points on 22%. He did have 2 steals and 2 threes still. Don't panic too much there. But interestingly, Nerlens Noel straight into the rotation. 18 minutes, 2 points. Now, we're not adding Noel in 10 or 12 or 14 team leagues. He's on a 10-day contract. Maybe there's some 16-team league value. But the 18 minutes is interesting. We also had Joe Harris with 23 minutes and Seth Curry with 22, and both guys played well. 12 points, 4 threes for Harris, 12, 3, and 2 for Curry. We're not adding them outside of like 18 teamers or maybe 16 teamers, but they played well enough. Their minutes have gone up, and they're the guys, along with the introduction of Noel, that hurt Cam Thomas and Yuta Watanabe and Day'Ron Sharpe, who are all out of the rotation. Now for the Rockets, the delicate dancer, Alperen Şengün.
It's a delicate dance in just 17 steps.
16 and 12, 2 assists. Nothing spectacular, and the assists have slowed up since Porter's return, but not pretty good game. Jabari Smith, I thought one of his best. Played a little bit at center as well, which is interesting. 15 and 8 with 3 threes. No defensive stats, no assists, and only 46% shooting. It's still not a great fantasy line, but definitely one of his better ones of recent times. I don't think he's a must-roster guy. While Porter had 8, 8, and 7, and Jalen Green starts off with a great line. 25 points, lovely. 2 rebounds is shocking. What do you go? 6 of 11 from the line, that hurts a lot. And then 43 on 21 attempts, field goal percentage. They're bad. He still is a must-roster player, I think, especially for points leagues, 100% for points leagues. But there are so many deficiencies in his game that they just keep cropping up. Not a good game from KJ Martin, 8 and 4. I would still hold. While the Wild Thing played only 22 minutes, Jayshawn Tate, 11 and 5 for him. 2 good games in a row for Tate.
Even the Wild Thing's gone well. I can't do much about that.
But it's still just a deeper league guy. What about Tari Tank season? 28 minutes, not his best game, 8 points. But 8 and 4, 3 steals. Great fantasy game, top 100 player over the last week, top 75 player over the last week. Absolutely a must-roster player. View him as top 100 moving forward. I think that's how you need to view him, as I said, as we move forward. The Thunder and the Warriors. When I was doing the FanDuel ads yesterday and the day before, I said, hey, let's just watch this. The Thunder are like 4-point underdogs at home against a Warriors team that sucks on the road. Well, they won. 137 Oklahoma City, 128 Golden State. Steph had 40. Great. 10 threes, 7 assists. We love that. 61%. Unbelievable game. Klay Thompson, 23, 4, and 2. Didn't get the sell high sink necessarily, but he was shooting an insane number on threes, and that went down to 39%, which hurts. And then they made a change. They started John Kuminga over Kevon Looney, and Kuminga was great. 21 points, 73% shooting, 2 steals. If Wiggins is out and they start Kuminga, even though the field goal percentage isn't locked in, he's going to be variable there, he's worth a look. I don't trust Steve Kerr in the minutes for Kuminga. Played 13 last game. But this was interesting to see him go straight back into the starting group and be really efficient. DiVincenzo had only 7 points and he shot horribly, but 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, remains a 12-teamer, and Draymond had 11 points with 11 assists. But Jordan Poole stunk again. 11 points in 32 minutes, 33%. That's like, it's bad. That line in itself is nowhere near a 12-team league player. He is one. Like, you still hold him. But it's getting to the stage that with a lineup like this, him coming off the bench, that, like, if you're in a 10-team league, you got to make a call on him. I don't think that in a 10-teamer, if this is how things stick, he can lock in as that sort of a player. I'm not sure that can happen. Looney, by the way, 11 minutes. 4 points and 5 rebounds. I don't really believe in him as a must-roster 12-team league guy. If they're going to play him off the bench, rebound specialist, sure. But I don't think he's a 12-team must. For the Thunder, there was no Jalen Williams. Shea played 36 minutes as they continue to lop his minutes off by 0 minutes per game. 33, 3 and 6, 2 steals and 2 threes on 58%. Just in case you didn't catch the start of the show, Shea is going to sit tomorrow with his abdominal issue. But Josh Giddey, what are this? 17, 11, and 17. Wow, a palindromic triple-double. Not quite palindromic, but, close enough. 55% shooting. While Lou Dort had 18 and 8. Of course, he shot horribly, as he always does. 2 steals and 36%. But he's going to get some really big usage with no Jalen Williams and no Shea tomorrow. The starter who started in place of the Bronco was Aaron Wiggins, 13 and 4 with a 111. That's absolutely good enough to stream tomorrow. Will they go to him big minutes in back-to-back games? That's where I'm not sure. They could go with Usman Jeng, who played 19 minutes, and I thought was good as well. 11 points, 2 threes, and 2 steals. I would stream Wiggins in 12 and Jeng in probably 14-team leagues. Isaiah Joe is also a 12-team option. Now, he wasn't particularly good here. 9 points with 3 threes, but played 30 minutes, and I'd expect 30 again from him tomorrow. I thought Šarić was also pretty good. 14 points in 15 minutes, but they are limiting his playing time. We do have to talk about Pig Williams, though, because he's shooting like 41% from 3 this season. Jalen Williams, that is, from Arkansas. 15 and 6, 3 threes, a steal. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl remains out of the rotation. Pig Williams has kicked him out of the rotation. An opportunity for him to get an interesting game going tomorrow. My worry is the inconsistency in playing time. It's getting more consistent for Pig, but will it stay that way? I don't mind him as a stream. I'd prefer streaming Wiggins and Joe over Pig Williams, but he's in the mix for tomorrow. A really, really good performance from him again as they pull off another just win where you just don't expect it. Whether they can do it again tomorrow, we'll find out. The next game that we take a look at here is the second last game of the day. The Utah Jazz lose to the Mavericks 120-116. There was no Sexton. There was also no Walker Kessler or Jordan Clarkson. So they started Olynyk at center, 12-7 with 2 steals. Not his best game, but still good for 12-team leagues. And in place of Kessler, they started Simone Fontecchio, who just cannot shoot in the NBA. 6 points, 2 threes, 25%. He's like a 40% shooter in Europe. He's at about 30, if that. He might not even be at that. He's been bad, and we don't stream him. Agbaji got another start, shot 18% with 6 points. He is so far away from me from being a fantasy option. He's like a 16 to 18 team league guy and was dreadful here. While Horton Tucker had 21, 6, and 4, 2 steals and a block, and I maintain that Horton Tucker is a guy to have while Sexton is out. And Chris Dunn is as well, 11, 8, and 5 in 24 minutes. But when you're getting 9 extra minutes for Horton Tucker, which doesn't happen every game, he's the guy that I would lean to. He's also on their roster permanently, and he's going to have staying power when Sexton comes back that I don't think Dunn will have. Markkanen had 33 and 6 with 5 threes. I think there'll be some games off for Markkanen here down the stretch. He's had injury problems in the past, but he was good and playing here, which is awesome. Shout out to Damian Jones, who played 23 minutes. And if Kessler is out, deeper leagues, you want to look at Damo there. 7 and 6 for him. He was ahead of Udoka Azubuike. For the Mavericks, Irving had 33, 6 and 8. Doncic had 29, 10 and 6. Good numbers. But Timmy Hardaway actually putting together a strong run. So I'm always like, do I add Tim Hardaway? And if I say it, I know he's going to be bad. I know he's going to be bad if I say add him. But I think you got to add him. 24, 4 and 4 with 7 threes. Well, we got 31 minutes for some reason back for Justin Holiday. Well, the some reason is Reggie Bullock got injured. 31 minutes for Holiday, 11 points, 3 threes, 2 steals, 3 blocks. The 2 steals, 3 blocks, we love that. It's not reliable, but in deeper leagues, you can consider an add there. While the Crucifix Christian Wood played 21 minutes, 7 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. All right. Should we do it? I think we have to.
Get that garbage out of here!
Like, what are we doing here? He's a 20-minute-a-night guy who hurts free throws, that never gets assists, can have big usage occasionally. But is it actually worth... We're in the end of the fantasy season. There's no sign here that tells me that Wood is going to be playing big minutes again. None. So move on. Maxi Kleber first came back from this second absence. 5 and 7 in 26 minutes, while Powell played 19 minutes. Joshy Green, another start, but no, we are not adding him in 10 or 12 or 14. Maybe you consider 16 team leagues. He had 7 points in those 27 minutes. Just watch the Bullock news. That might help Justin Holiday get a little bit of a boost. Maybe it helps Wood, but didn't help him here. Again, Bullock played 8 minutes, under 8 minutes, and Wood still played only 21. Wood maybe would have only played 18 or 19 had it not been for Reggie Bullock getting hurt. Let's do the last game of the night. The Lakers beat the Grizzlies 112-103. Good game from the cashier, Xavier T. Illman. 32 minutes, 11 and 10, 4 steals and a block. As long as Steve Adams remains out, and probably for 1 or 2 games when Adams returns, Tillman's a 12-teamer. Jaren had some foul trouble. He still played 31 minutes, had 26 and 8 with a steal and 2 blocks. But he had 5 fouls and carried them through the end of the game for a while. While we had Tyus Jones, nothing spectacular, but 16, 3 and 3 in 34 minutes, and he's a must-roster player. It was just a stinker from Des Bane. 7 points on 21%. He added 5 rebounds and 5 assists, but just a bad night. While Dylan Brooks continues to just be just horrendous. Like, does anyone love watching this guy play? The worst bloke to watch play in the entire NBA. You do not need to roster him in 12-team leagues. He had foul trouble in this game, so he only played 27 minutes, which probably kept the Grizzlies closer, to be honest. If he had played more, they would have been worse. He had 13 points on 29%. He's shooting, I think, 36% for the season. He had 1 rebound and no steals. Just pull your head in. It's the most simple thing in the world, and the fact that he cannot ever adjust to it, I just wouldn't play him. I don't actually care about his defensive impact. I know he's always really good on the defensive metrics and the advanced metrics, But the fact that he will not ever adjust, it's going to end his career at some point. Like, he just will not adjust. And it's infuriating. We got 26 minutes from Santi Aldama, who had 11 and 5 with 2 threes. Good to see those minutes push up. It helped that Jaren was in foul trouble, but it wasn't just all Jaren in foul trouble. With the absence of Steven Adams, we saw Jaren play more at center. Now, when Adams comes back, it's probably going to limit Aldama from pushing into this playing time. So it's nice as a streamer for now, but that's probably about it. For the Lakers, Davis was ridiculous, 30 and 22 with 2 blocks, while Dennis Schroeder had 17, 6 and 9 in 35 minutes. Now, they don't play again until Friday, and D'Angelo Russell probably returns then. So I think they'll keep Russell and Schroeder starting together, but I'm not certain. We still roll with Schroeder for now and see what happens. Good game from Hachimura, 28 minutes, 17 and 6. Of course, no assists, no steals, no blocks. He required 64% shooting to get there, and that's your red flag to know that you don't add him in 12 or 14 team leagues. I think Austin Reeves can be added though. 17, 4 and 7. He'll probably lose a little bit when D'Angelo returns, but he's putting up strong numbers and we just roll with him for now. Although, again, the two-day gap with no games is a little bit annoying. Malik Beasley, 5 points, 22 minutes. He's hit or miss. Is he must roster? He's close to it, but he's a hit or miss points and threes streamer. And Jared Vanderbilt, we see again his limitations. 24 minutes, 5 points, 8 rebounds. He is the same guy. Doesn't matter who is out. Rebounds, some steals, and some good field goal percentage usually, although he was at 40% here. He doesn't ramp up. He didn't play well here. He's not your fantasy savior at all. He's just a fine guy to have at the back end of a roster. Troy Brown was all right, 13, 4 and 2 with 3 threes. He's at least streamable, except I think he is going to lose that starting spot when D'Angelo returns, which would limit his overall value. Winyan Gabriel had the backup minutes there with Mo Bamba out, and Lonnie Walker had 6 points in 16 minutes. Let's look at the lines of the night. The monstrous goes to Joel Embiid. Your waiver wire line of the night, despite only 21 minutes, is Mo Wagner. Your young gun of the night is Josh Giddey, and the dud of the night is Kevon Looney. Top 10 players in category leagues. Number 1 was Embiid, followed by Steph, Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Josh Giddey, Tyrese Maxey, Chris Middleton, Mikal Bridges, Brad Beal, and Brook Lopez. Top 10 players rostered in under 50% of leagues. Mo Wagner at 1. If Wendell's out, yes. Javon Carter, I think that's just a Drew Holiday situation. I wouldn't be too interested there. Johnny Kuminga, I am a little bit interested. Started with Looney back, or with Looney off the bench. And when Wiggins comes back, that'll hurt. But he's at least interesting. Jay Crowder, no. Justin Holiday, deeper leagues, maybe with Bullock out, and they play tomorrow. Royce O'Neal, the minutes up was interesting. I'm not ready to look at him as a 12-teamer. Joe Ingles, streamable. Rudy Gay, no. Cole Anthony, maybe. With Harris out, Anthony's value is up at the moment, so he's not a bad streamer, but there's always going to be ups and downs with him. And then Pig Williams, who I do think is worth a stream, especially for tomorrow. Top 10 players in points leagues today. Number 1 was Embiid, followed by Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Bradley Beal, Josh Giddey, Steph Curry, Larry Markkinen, Nick Claxton, and coming in at number 10 was Jaden Ivey. And that'll do it for me today, guys. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on the Odyssey app. And if you are on YouTube, thumb it up and leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.